Sebastian DeWay, and as you will see, I do electronic dance music, and I wanted to show a different side of spatial audio because so far what we've seen or what we've heard were maybe uh, related with electroacoustic music, and it's more perhaps about the cinema for the ear. So it's about creating an environment, immersive environment, and which is something I learned to do, and I come from that field of electroacoustic music because it's quite interesting to learn how to pay attention to sound and craft your sound. But also, um, coming from my background, I went to a lot of nightclub and I spent a lot of years going out in nightclubs. And for me, I need beat, I need rhythm. So I wanted to find a way to merge the two together. And thankfully, at this university, they were welcoming the idea of doing nightclub music into a PhD, because often in academia is they want something more intelligent, and they think that the techno music and dance music is not intelligent, and and that's why I came to do a PhD with this, because I want to demonstrate that sometimes there are some great composer of techno and dance music, and so I felt that it was my mission to demonstrate that it is possible to think about music, perhaps more academically, but to bring the music from the nightclubs and the underground. Um, so we're in Huddersfield, and like I was mentioning, this studio, the Spiral, was really the inspiration of creating this whole project, because first, when I was an electroacoustic composer, space was really a dimension that I thought was really interesting, and I really like the idea of to be in an immersive environment, because most likely the music we listen, the commercial music, the concert we go to, are often in stereo. Like we learn from that the concert comes from a frontal and experience, which the reality of our life is that we are surrounded with sounds and all the time. So why don't we surround ourselves with speakers for music, and not only have them fixed, but also have a positioning and a movement, or sometimes, as I will demonstrate, some of my sound will be fixed, that will have a specific location, and others will have a different movement and direction to them. So I will show you, um, perhaps that's other studios, like, yeah, that's the configuration of 3 circle of 8. It wants to be a dome shape. So what they did is, because they couldn't really bring them closer, they have like a fraction of a second later to create that somewhat dome. But still, for me, height is important. It's not just an immersion on a horizontal level, but also a vertical level, to have something that really make you perceive. And usually the ears is able and capable of perceiving those frequencies going higher. And so that's why for me it was important to include them. So I'll show you a session of how I work my music. And to me it's important also to use that space, but to also to create some sort of equilibrium, to not having everything clustered in one place, but to try to make it even for everyone, so no matter where you are, you can have a great listening experience. So with the first audio track, it also depends of how, like, when I came here in Huddersfield, I was just a composer. I didn't have any instrument, but now through the help of Ableton, don't know if you've ever seen this Ableton Push. This is the second version, which unfortunately is now obsolete. There's a third one that came out, and they don't want to invest and support the second one. Anyway, it did change my life, because now I can say that I'm a musician and I do have my instrument. So in collaboration with the Novation Launch Control, I'm able to really use them as instruments that are dedicated So I don't want to go into certain menu. No, they're fixed with my session, and I can really expand. So the the session is a representation here. So the software is the brain, and the push is the body, is the direct connection with the brain. And as you can see, there's like blocks of sound. They're my loops, and every as you can see, the first one is the red one, and the red means that this is one musical idea. The blue ones are the ones that are a bit, for me, it's like color coding to demonstrate that, okay, these are the main sound that will have a character or characteristic that are more important. And the red ones are more of the stable, fixed element that are just there for rhythm. So through my session, as you will see, it's going to change color, and every color is a musical idea. So I go from one to another, to another, to another. So I usually have about 8 musical idea per composition. So the composition I will be playing lasts about maybe 20 minutes. And for me, I thought that this methodology that I developed, I think it's a very simple way to approach music, meaning that it's like Lego blocks, that I do an architecture of music, that I'm building blocks, building all of them with this musical idea, and then removing block by block and switching and segueing into this next musical idea. So I go up with musical intensity, and then I switch back to the next one and to the next one. It's like wave of music. So it does have rhythm, it has beat, but I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if it's really house music, techno, trance, but these are styles that did influence me. But I'm just having fun developing those ideas. So as you can see, that session is very formatted. It's like classical music, that this is my score, this is what's going to happen. And on this other side, this is more of the jazz instrument that allows me to improvise and to do a bit more of an organic feel, that it's not just very strict electronic dance music, but we can have a human touch to it. And so it's the collaboration of the fixed and the improvisation that I can blend into one. And I think it's a very good approach to play electronic dance music, because we do want to feel that there's a rhythm, but we also want to feel that there's a human behind all this, and we can change this. So that's how I develop it. Regarding space, so again, I was mentioning that space is important for me. So my rhythm and my melodies are already implemented, but also space has been thought before. So the first one, the kick, for me, this is something that's going to be fixed. So in that case, there's a free plugin, Max for Life plugin, that I found that is quite efficient and allows you to have several instances of a plugin of audio. And as I'm going to demonstrate here, I'm going to take one that is not used. So usually when it comes out, as you can see, there's several output, and there's different presets. So if you want 14 speakers, there's already a setting for this one. So in this case, I'm using I think the 16 that goes from 1 to, and so it's basically, it has already settings and a configuration that allows you to find the way how your setup of your studio is, or you can independently move it if you're interested. And in this case, as for the kick, I just basically took the yeah, no, it's maybe this one, yeah. So it's basically, I took all the sources and brought them back to the center to make sure that that sound will be heard on all the output. In this case, I have 16, so that's why in this case you don't see them, but when I play it, you will see. So it should sound on all the speakers. And the as I was mentioning, I need a certain equilibrium. So all the sounds that I feel that have a more middle and high frequencies, these are the ones that are more perceptible, and these are the ones that I want them to be moving. So if we go to the number 6, we go this one. So as you can see, that's the source moving around the place, and so that's pretty much having a whole mixture of fixed elements and other ones that are moving. So as you can see, I try to keep my setup because the instrument shows me 8 audio tracks, but at some point I realized that I needed a bit more, so I do have a 9th voice, which is usually the cherry on top. That's the voice that really start to bring the music to the next level. But I try to keep 8 because also the controllers that I bought or they are available on the market, they show 8 faders and 8 potentiometers. So it's pretty much regarding my fingers, which I can play with all these ones at the same time. So that's why I restrict myself to 8 channels for the audio, and sometimes another one for a specific reason. And yeah, so it's pretty much restricting myself and try to make the most out of this session. So I mentioned, and for moving, I just use an LFO. The LFO is giving the speed, so you can just select. So if we go to this one, you will see that if you change the rate, you can select it with the rhythm. So I try to stay connected with my rhythm. My rhythm is often around 124 because that's my vibe. That's how I feel that keeps me and give me a groove. Some people it's more techno, 130, 140. Some people it's more hip hop, around 80 to 100. My vibe is more house music, 124. And you can select the movement of my sound to be in synchronicity with the movement, so I can go faster, but it's always in sync with the musical session. So the spatialization is also in sync with the whole system. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I can say at the moment. I will perform the composition, and if you have any question afterwards, I'll be welcome them. So let's go. So I think the experience of electronic dance music has a greater experience. Like I had the chance to experience it because Ministry of Sound in London is a nightclub that did a partnership with Dolby Atmos. Dolby Atmos is recognized for their surround sound and now the Dolby Atmos. So when you go to a cinema, it's a Dolby Atmos sound system. So now the nightclub has a cinema sound system, and now DJs can move the sound around. I did go the first time I went to the nightclub, the DJ didn't know how to play with the system, and it was kind of a pity. It's like you have a Ferrari and you just stay in first gear. The second time I went was Steve Lawler. He used the system, but only as an effect, and I thought it was a pity because, again, you have a Ferrari and you just go to the second gear. And for me, I think we need to implement the spatial aspect into it from the start, from as a element of composition, and I think it enhanced the listening experience, and that's why I decided to promote and dedicate myself for spatial audio with electronic dance music, and I hope you enjoyed this. Yeah, you have a question?
Yeah, one of the questions, I have two questions, but one of the questions I think you already answered, that it was that this is very, very cool and it's fantastic for a controlled environment like this, but how can be deployed in a real world environment? So the clubs actually doesn't have the system that you are already telling me that there are one that has Dolby Atmos, that it's pretty limited compared to what we have here.
But the Dolby Atmos is a good.
It can make the effect of elevation and also the central ring, right?
Yeah.
So that is good. I think it would be better if lots of clubs go in that way. I don't know if the artist needs to push in that way, or who has this responsibility.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's a good question, and I thought about it, and the thing is, I think at some point they need to bring back this energy that previous COVID. Like I think right now clubs are reopening, but it's not the same energy as we used to. And if a nightclub wants to stand out and offer something more, people will go for that, because now clubs are opening, but there's something missing. We need good music, but definitely if we can have a plus value, people will be willing to say, hey, that's an interesting thing, because now we go out, we pay a lot, but are we having enough? So I think nightclub need to open their mind, and also DJ. No, they need to upgrade their skills and to really show that this is an instrument in itself and it can be played.
And that's another thing. The second question, it was that for example, majority of the DJs are working with mixer, stereo, mixer, right? You are here in Ableton. Which is the output of this software at this moment? It's 60.
Yeah, in this case it's 16, because I do have 16 output.
So these ones are reproducing the same as these ones, right?
Well, it means like it's a stereo source. Like I have stereo files that can be moved around the system.
Yeah, but there is an output, a certain number of outputs from the software.
Yeah. So basically, it's the software. It's basically the plugins. So in this case, it's Max for Live, and as you can see, there's like 32 output possible.
That's cool. And the other thing is, I think this is a 2D panel, right?
Yes.
I think it could be also much better if we can explore the elevation from top to down to top, some effects like that. I think it would benefit a lot.
In this case, it's my goal to upgrade my game, to use these software and this plugin even better. At the moment, I'm very generic because I'm doing pretty much the same thing, but with more time with these plugins, I'll develop and enhance the listening experience. But so far, the thing is also, when we're dancing, we're always moving. So for me, to have sounds that are constantly moving is important. but it doesn't need to be that specific location, but to have something moving. So as you say, going up and down, to have different style of movement. I need to do this. That's my work, but at the moment I'm very using it because I'm starting with this new plugins. But definitely we need to explore, and as musician performer, I need to upgrade my game and to better use that system.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah. Yes.
Obviously, this is great. And it's the first time I've ever seen anything like this, which is awesome. So, say you're in the club doing this live. How are you monitoring this? Are you binaural and headphones? Obviously, if you're in a big club situation and you want to hear exactly what's going on, and say the speaker's 20 feet that way,
Yeah.
would you see it moving towards binaural headphones for DJs, or would you see like a smaller Atmos rig for the DJ booth, or how would that work, do you think?
I developed that way of working because the studio in the Spiral is, I was in the middle.
Of course.
So I was playing for myself.
Exactly.
I've seen nightclub where the DJ is in the center, of the nightclub, and he's the center of attention, and in this case you can monitor the right way. In this case, that experience, I was beside two, and it's not the greatest experience, but because I know my music so well, and I've let it play and been seating myself, I know it gives a good rendition.
Yes.
But it's true that it's not the best place, but perhaps to have like a binaural version for myself to be able to listen what's going on, that could be definitely helpful.
Yes.
But for me, try to be in the center. I would love to be in the center.
Exactly.
I was going to say, I've done quite a lot of DJing. The main issue with monitoring in clubs is the distance between you and the speakers. But I think so if the speaker's far away and you're trying to mix in a tune, there's a delay.
Yeah.
You mix in the delay and it all goes wrong. Yeah, been in that situation a few times. But I think binaural headphones for the DJs would be great. I was going to wonder if you had any comments about scaling up from stereo to a multi-channel system. And I think specifically reverbs might be interesting, and if you've explored the use of applying having stereo sources but then reverbs that are higher order and deliver through multi-channel systems. Yeah,
at the moment I'm very like object based.
Yeah,
it's moving, but I don't have a lot of reverb attached to them. But it's my first step, but definitely I'll look into how to expand the reverb on specific system and configuration. But we're starting. I think.
For sure.
But definitely there is a potential for this, because for me, I'm enjoying my music and the music for itself, and it's not applicable just to electronic dance music. It can be for rock and roll, it can be for hip hop. I think it's just us to use those systems and to take advantage of what we have as technology. Yeah. Again, thank you for coming. I really appreciate your presence, because I know I was at the end of the conference, but it's all good. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you.